Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to everybody. I appreciate you guys for coming out. Today we've got a big show. We've got a big interview here. We got my boy Tyler. I see you in the crowd. What's going on? Alex, I see you, bro. Looks like I've got a request. Okay, Leon, my man. Welcome, welcome, everyone. All right. What's up? What's up? Okay. There he is, the man of the hour, Tyler. What's going on?
What it do? What it do?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, we're gonna start this thing off by playing a short video from our Spincast because we want to be able to start this thing off right. So I'm going to kind of deconnect. Second. And I'm going to preview here our first promo video for the Spincast to kind of set the table for what we're going to talk about today. So everybody, please pay attention. 1 second here. The Spincast. Whoa, that was a beautiful piece of art. Nice work.
Time last year.
Yeah, that was around this time. Yeah, we had just had a really big snowstorm in Boston. Nothing new about that per se.
Right.
But can you kind of introduce sort of what the Spincast is? I know we saw that short video, but kind of take us through sort of the journey of how you got here today and how we joined forces on this thing.
Yeah, bro. So Spincast started up in 2017. That's when I really started conceptualizing it, and I walked through that. But in 2018 is when I originally launched on December 1, and I was like really wanting to tap into the DJ space in my area. At the time, I was in Davenport, Iowa. After I graduated school, I was like, man, I got to get into some more DJing. But one of the things that was like frustrating for me was like, it was tough to break into the DJ scene. And what I found was that I had to know the club owner, and then the club owner know the promoter, and then the promoter needed to know the bartender. And I'm like, bro, this is too much. And I'm not really like a big marketer. I'm getting better at that now, but I'm like, okay, I still want to be able to perform for people. I still want to be able to like create these moments because that's really when I fell in love with it. When I was like, man, people are really like feeling good about themselves when I play music. And I'm like, well, I can go live maybe. So I constructed the site and just tinkered around with it, messed around with some different like platforms, like be it YouTube or some other like obscure sites I came across. And then I was just like, nah, you know what? I gotta like try to do this myself. So um, fast forward, I went live and it connected. And
Yeah.
I'm hold on a second, like this actually works. So let me just fine tune this up a little bit more, and after a bunch of testing and getting feedback, has been able to get us where we are today. And so how you and I linked up, being frat brothers, aka Psi, you know, with, we landed up in Boston on our own personal paths, and I'll let you tap into your story too, because it's not.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, Christian, he just is brilliant with the strategizing, and he just has the the knack for knowing what it takes for a startup to progress. And that was the space that I was in. I'm like, okay, I have proof of concept. I got the product. I got the service. I have the users. Now I want to take it to the next level and really go. So, brought you in, CFO. Last year we was doing the Black Ambition Prize uh, application and trying to get some funding there, and ended up making these videos together. And man, I'm just grateful. So
No, man. I love your story because I think for everybody who doesn't kind of understand what the Spincast does from the video, I think the easiest way to explain it, because I hate using companies as a proxy, but it just works. I tell people you can order a DJ the same way you can order an Uber. You go on the site, you click when you want to book a DJ, you have a list of DJs that you can book, and it allows people to be able to connect. I think I'll kind of share a little bit about the background of our story, and then we'll talk more about the actual app. So, what Tyler doesn't say, which is one of my favorite things about him, is Tyler has like this extensive engineering background. So when you see him at work, aeronautical engineering, whatever specific project that he's working on, you'd be extremely impressed with that side of him. But what I think I get to interact with most is when Tyler's at his most creative, when he's able to use music and visual art in order to convey these different messages, whether they're rhythm or beats, or just genres. And so having a co-founder, a partner in all of this who can sort of have that, logic side, but then can also express themselves creatively, I think is the most important part of like how we were able to work together so well. But I think one of the main things that attracted me to this is just the novelty of it. And I think, Tyler, I would love for you to talk more about sort of what you saw during the pandemic that just was the complete proof of concept for you and kind of like led us down this rabbit hole together.
bro, the pandemic was so reassuring for Spincast. And I just had this moment. I'm like, dog, like, wait, all these DJs are going online and going live and having hundreds of thousands of viewers. Like D Nice had 250K, 250,000 viewers. It was Obama on Instagram Live, dog, just playing music.
Yep.
And people were like concerned with Spincast when I was first like just kind of walking them through the idea. Like, hey, how are you gonna get people to enjoy it? Like you're on the other side of the screen. They're not gonna want to pay for that. They're not gonna want to tap into that. But the proof of concept lies in the the feeling that it creates, the experience that it creates. People want to enjoy good music. People want to come home. They're planning a dinner party. While they're setting up for the dinner party, they might throw on a DJ from Spincast and just let them, set the tone. And then while guests are coming in, then the DJ can flip it. And then we have turn up vibe and a feel good vibe. And so during the pandemic, that's when it really like connected. And we saw crazy growth in our users, like around 1,500% user growth.
Yeah, and I think that one of the first nuggets, first of all, for everybody, I want to make sure for everybody who's joined the live right now, I want to thank you guys for coming out. Thank you for supporting our conversation. Our goal is to drop gems here. I say this during every live, but I want you to gain some information that will positively impact your bottom line. I want you to make some money from our conversation. And so, Tyler, one of the main things I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about, because I think this was sort of the interesting revelation in this, is how people want to experience their culture from home. So for everybody that doesn't know, I've got a friend Kat, and he's got about 350,000 followers on Instagram. Shout out to Kat out there somewhere, Cottrell. And while having a conversation with him, we talked about the possibilities of what the Spincast can grow into. And I think one of the main things that we were able to focus on is how growing up, I'm from Tampa, Florida. Tyler's from Michigan. He could talk a little bit about his background growing up. But there's a certain type of music that we played in our neighborhood back in middle school. And for everybody who's out there, any songs that like only you and your ratchet friends from back home would know, please drop them in the chat right now. Um, all those Tampa music, for all my Tampa heads out there, drop some Tampa music. DJ Strizo, Tampa Tony, shout out to them. But there's a certain thing that happens when I bring in my Tampa DJ, someone who knows my music, who can kind of bring that music up here. Because when I came to Boston, I felt like that was one of the main things that were missing from the clubs. You could hear top 40, you could hear, classic rock, you could hear some of those other types of music, but you couldn't hear Tampa music. You couldn't hear some of my favorite Florida songs. And so what the Spincast allowed me to do, is to export that Tampa culture, that Florida culture, to my dinner party with my friends, to be able to bring in my favorite DJ and to be able to turn up that way. So Tyler, I'll kind of let people talk a little bit about your musical background and how you've had maybe a similar experience.
Oh, indeed. I mean, it's very like nostalgic. Like when you hear those ones where you ride it with your homies, you know what I'm saying? You on Christmas break and you go home, and then it's like, all right, bet, let's link up. And then you got to go to like in Michigan, we got Coney Island. So it's like, all right, cool, we're gonna slide to Coney Island. Carpool on the way there, you hear a Detroit track that is exclusively Detroit. Be a Big Sean, be a Doughboys Cash Out, and you're like, yeah, And so it just you're like experiencing it together. You're experiencing it live. Whoa, I like tapped into the metaverse for a second, bro. But and so that is like, it's just so like feel good. And but just as a DJ for myself, I really want to pay attention to what how people respond to the types of songs that I'm playing. And so I might play a little bit of one era, but then I'll switch to a genre, I'll switch to house, and then I'll switch to a region. I'll play ATL, and then I'll switch back to like a 2000s kind of like, Jagged Edge or something, and just bringing it so that people are really like feeling good and reminding them of how cool you felt at that time when you first heard the track. That's what I really enjoy about DJing. Yeah.
So we focused a lot on sort of some of the bigger DJs. Some of my hometown hero DJs, or maybe they used to play my favorite nightclub back in college. But I also want to kind of save space for some of the amateur DJs. And can you kind of talk about how those people can benefit from the Spincast, or they don't have a history of working in the clubs. I know your story personally. You were kind of excommunicated from some of those places, and the DJ and Spincast was a place that you could go and develop your sound and find your audience. Can you talk to maybe some of the inspiring DJs out there, and how they could benefit from this platform?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no more like humbling time than when you're starting to DJ and you can't perform for people. You really should like just be by yourself for a while and get good and do your best to learn new tricks. And but what's what's lacking is the feedback that you get when you're performing in front of people. People going, "Oh, that's crazy! Did you see that?" Like, just singing along to every single word. And so when you're a novice DJ or a new DJ, and experience, what the Spincast does is it enables you to play for anyone in the world. Because it is web based, you have that ability. You don't have to haul your heavy equipment around anymore. You don't have to try to rub shoulders with the club promoter, and then hopefully they'll find you a slot. You can just log in. You already have your home set up, and you tap in it and start. And then, as Christian described, it's kind of like ordering an Uber, but ordering a DJ. So you're getting a percentage of the payment that the listener wants to book you for. So, you know, it's a good opportunity to, one, gain experience playing in front of people if you're a new DJ, to continuing to play in front of people if you're an experienced DJ. And there was a lot of DJs that got hit during the pandemic that were suffering for work. Now you have that opportunity to tap in and play for anyone in the world. And then also you have the opportunity to earn income or supplement your income. And so that's what I really wanted to, allow DJs to do and have that experience, and not deprive them of DJing for people, just because they don't have that in or that connection.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I want to kind of give people a context of your current roster of DJs. So I think now would be a good time to shout out some of our favorites, and just a little bit about their background, because I think that would be interesting. And I know some people are trying to place this app, meaning they're like, okay, if I'm a new DJ, okay, I can get on here and I can develop an audience. But if I'm just a person who needs music services, what type of events have you guys done in the past? That way people can kind of like really understand when the best time would be to order your DJs.
Yeah. So real quick, I want to shout out the DJs that are on the site now. DJ Taco, he was my mentor at Tennessee State, for DJing. So just full circle, man. He's on the site and doing his thing. He plays house music. He plays R&B music. He plays hip hop music. He plays ratchet music. So he gets down. Mark James from Indiana. He was based in Nashville. He just slid to the A. He's in Atlanta right now. He does his thing, plays his trap, plays his R&B, has wild transitions, like very talented, man. So he was actually a new DJ at the time when he came into the Spincast, and he's been able to generate more of a following and give his audience what they want to hear. And to your point about the Tampa thing, being able to connect with those that are specialized to that local community. DJ K Young, she's from the Quad Cities. Davenport, Iowa is where I met her.
Okay.
She spins on Sirius XM radio, Shade 45, every week. She's a professional. She be killing it, man. So she's amazing. And then we just onboarded Drew Cabrera.
Dog Drew.
Yeah, he's in Miami doing his thing there. He does the house thing. He does the techno thing. He just loves it. He loves DJing from his bedroom. And so again, that's an opportunity for new DJs, good DJs that might not have that space to be able to perform for people. What was the second part of the question?
And then the second part is people, they love it. So we're going to assume that people, they love the app, but they're trying to figure out, when would I book a DJ? When do you typically find that people use your services, or what type of events have you done in the past that people can kind of use as a point of reference?
Yeah, thank you. So I did a birthday party for a Sweet 16. So just to paint the picture, the birthday party was in Michigan. I was in Boston. I'm in Boston, And you know, it's a Sweet 16, so there's a certain type of generation that I had to cater to. The birthday party was outdoors. I was at my crib in AC. It's time, so it was like June or something like that. I don't have to sweat. All I had to do was connect with the listener, the client, and ask them, hey, what kind of music do you want to hear? What kind of genre would you like? Oh, it's a Sweet 16, so, just play some current music, the top 40, whatever. Hip hop, make sure that it's clean and edited. We don't have any explicit music. Bet. And you fill all those details out when you're booking a DJ too. We give them an affordable rate, $15 to $20 per hour. You cut out all the travel costs, and they were able to enjoy themselves. We had lossless audio. We don't want to have that, hey, I'm on Instagram Live and I had the speaker set up right next to my phone type of quality. Nah.
Yeah, and can we pause right there? Because I think that's a good place to kind of stop and elaborate a little bit. So most people were introduced to what I would call Spincast Lite, or people go on Instagram Live and then they put a speaker next to the phone. Can you talk about the difference in sound quality between someone putting their phone next to a speaker and someone being able to connect through the Spincast? Because I think that's where the real competitive advantage is.
Yeah, 100%. And there's a need for a little bit of like, I don't want to shortchange nobody, man. When you're DJing, you want it to be as best as possible, right? So you don't want to shortchange anyone when you're performing for them. But just to paint a picture of the audio quality and the difference. So when you're in your car and you plug in your iPhone and you press play on your Apple CarPlay, that type of lossless audio and the crisp and the clean audio that you hear coming through your speakers, that's the type of audio that we produce in the Spincast. The type of audio that you might find on like an Instagram Live type of feed is like airy, and it's like you can like barely hear it, and it's like, oh, you can hear the lyrics, you can hear the tunes, but you can't feel the bass. You can't hear all the highs. So our audio is lossless, and we wanted to focus on that because that is a key element to DJing. And then of course the visuals too. So we have the camera, facing the DJ, whichever angle, but primarily it's in portrait. So the DJ is looking at the camera and is performing for you.
Perfect. And then give us some more events that you've done in the past. I know we talked a little bit about a Sweet 16. Can you talk about the brunch series? I thought that was super dope.
Yeah.
And a little bit of some of the programming you've done throughout the last maybe like 6 to 12 months.
Right. So apart from the personalized DJ experiences, we host live stream events where we do a Sunday brunch. Mark James puts on a tremendous show every time. So
let me stop you right there. You have to attend a Sunday brunch. I just want to tell everybody out there right here, right now, you heard it here first, because what it does is you're able to just hit play and let him do all the work, and then you can really enjoy your Sunday vibe. So I think that is a great place for people to get introduction, but continue.
Yeah, indeed. So Sunday brunch, Mark James does his thing. He does his trap thing, he does his hip hop thing, he does his R&B thing, he does the 90s R&B thing. It makes it very, very fun. Again, while you're just in the background cooking brunch or hosting people in a space. And like Christian said, press play, tune in. You don't have to do any of the work. You don't want to have to fight over the aux. You don't want someone to call you and interrupt the Bluetooth stream. And then people are just standing there like in this dead space when they could have been listening to music and continuing that vibe. But unfortunately, there was an interruption. But you have a DJ who knows what to play, who knows what the vibe is. He knows what you like. He knows what you want to hear, so he'll spin that. So we've done the Sunday brunch thing. We'll do Memorial day barbecue events. We do Quiet Storm. Taco will come on and do the late night thing on Sunday nights. We'll do New Year's Eve events. But we'll have a variety of DJs come in and spin. We'll do a party from home series where, we'll tap in again to various DJs throughout the week. So tune in Thursday night. DJ K Young is going to be playing 10 p.m. live. And this is not happening this week necessarily, because not tonight. But I'm just but K Young will be playing at 10 p.m. And then the next day, Friday evening, will be the headliner. So that'll be Mark James. And then Saturday, it's a little bit more metal vibe during the afternoon. So Drew will come in and play a little bit of neo soul. So we want to be able to have a variety of events that covers a spread of occasions that we know people want to have and host and enjoy. And y'all know it ain't really an event if there ain't no good music. So you gotta tap into Spincast and just let us do the work. Don't worry about the aux. We got
it. And that's what I love about this is we're able to connect to what I like to call that soul music. It can kind of like rejuvenate your Sunday and get you ready for the week. So I love that. And so the last thing I want to kind of touch on, which I think is the most exciting for me, is as the leader of the Spincast, the visionary leader, tell us about the future. I know you've talked a little bit about sort of what you envision, because I think what people see what it is today, but I think the bigger vision moving forward is what people can get really excited about. When we start talking about some of our favorite spots, like maybe the W, they have a consistent Saturday night thing, and how, adding the Spincast can sort of, not only add to their bottom line, but also be able to curate a different type of experience. So can you talk about that a little bit and where you see this thing headed in the future?
So some of the things that we're planning are partnerships with local venues like the W. So in Boston, there's a venue in Chinatown or in the theater district known as the W. It's the W Hotel, and then they have a lounge, the W Lounge. Where on weekends they have DJs slide through, and they have like young professionals come in and just kind of vibe out, hang, and have drinks. And so what we're working on is a partnership with some of those local venues, such as the W, that want to continue to have that specialized vibe, but we're cutting out all of the costs that comes with the DJ's travel, the DJ's setup time, DJ's performance time if they're in person, and setting up subscription plans where it's like, hey, every Friday night, the Spincast is going to be having a DJ at the same time that you host your W events. So just pay a little fee and tap in Friday and Saturday nights. That way, they're able to focus more on their the people, the bodies that come in, and make sure that everyone else is satisfied. And then, of course, it opens up some more floor space too, if I do say so, because there is like I got to scoot past the DJ now, a screen and be set.
Yeah, and the potential, I think, is what when Tyler talks about this, it's hard not to think about, okay, in any situation that you currently see a DJ, they can be replaced with a virtual DJ via the Spincast, and now you've decreased the expense because we're going to be significantly cheaper than hiring an in-person DJ, but you can also curate those experiences. One of the things that really attracted me is one of my favorite DJs out there is DJ Jazzy Jeff. Shout out to @1 Jazzy Jeff. He was the DJ for our wedding. And if I had my friends come over and I threw a 31st, 32nd birthday party for myself, I'd love for Jeff to be able to come up to Boston and spend for me and my friends. Unfortunately, that would cost a fortune to fly him out, to put him in a hotel room, to food per diem, $700-800 to DJ, and then all that to go home. And then also from Jeff's perspective, Jeff has children, and he has a wife, and he has a family. And that time away from them is worth something to him. It's valuable. So for him to be able to show up, you know, and DJ from the comfort of his own home while being able to spend time with his family and his wife, but also be able to give me exactly what I'm looking for, which is I want the best and the best DJs at whatever functions I have. And I know a lot of other people who feel that way about being able to import their favorite sound to their favorite local events, whether that DJ is local or not. And I think that, my friend, is one of the things that I see as one of the big launching points for this app moving forward is you may not be able to afford somebody like a Virgil Abloh, rest in peace, Virgil, or a Shaquille O'Neal, or some of these other top ranking, you know, $200,000, $300,000 DJs. But Shaq may feel differently about it coming to an event, having to show up, having to be in person, versus being able to DJ your event from the comfort of his own home. You could drop that cost down significantly, and then for anybody promoting the event, they could kind of still get that allure of Shaq will be DJing, or Snoop Dogg will be DJing, or some of the other, like, you know, big time international DJs. And so I saw that and I was like, this is a great opportunity. And Tyler, another question here, because I know we've been asked this before. Is this a black owned thing?
It's very black.
Beautiful. And I think that's what we're doing this during Black History Month. And a lot of people are like looking for ways to support different black businesses. Mm-hmm. And so I think now is a good time to do that via the Spincast. And so that's kind of what I see for the future. Is there anything else that you want to kind of add on?
We're in the business of creating moments. We want to be able to create spaces that people can enjoy themselves without having to focus too much on how to set up, how to arrange a DJ. We don't want DJs to have to haul their equipment around. We want to make the experiences as seamless as possible. There are DJs out there right now that want to spin in a club or want to spin in their favorite venue, but they're unable because they don't have that in. They don't know the promoter. They don't know the club owner. They don't know the bartender like that. The people that frequent there don't know them. So the Spincast is a phenomenal opportunity for you to get that experience. If you are a new DJ, if you are an experienced DJ, to continue to perform in front of people and get real feedback. And then for the listeners to be able to book DJs at an affordable rate, on demand, and be able to request whatever tracks, whatever genres, whatever feel that you would like to from a group of DJs that are highly capable of making sure that you have the greatest experiences possible.
Perfect. And so there's one more thing that I wanted to do, because aside from this being a great conversation to kind of highlight what we're doing in this space and how we're revolutionizing DJs, I wanted to give people an idea of how we value something like this. So I think we're going to transition into, okay, this is a great idea, but now we're in a Shark Tank episode, and you've got Daymond John, you've got Mr. Wonderful, and they're bidding at, wanting to grab a piece of the Spincast. And so I want to be able to introduce the audience into different ways that we kind of figure out the value of something like this. And so we're going to start with this number where most businesses want to get to, $1 billion valuation. So my question to you, Tyler, I'm not expecting you to be able to answer this question, but it's more of a question we can kind of explore together, which is, how do we get to $1 billion valuation? Today, we're a little far from that, but what steps would we have to take in order to get to that place? And so I want to kind of ask you some questions, and then we'll use this data to try to build a quote unquote model of how we can get to $1 billion valuation. So the first thing I want to understand is, from a cost perspective, or actually from a revenue perspective, what would you value a user at? And if you want to kind of talk through any assumptions, or if you have any questions about how we can get to that number, you and I can kind of play around with it. But I think doing this in real time can give people a way of trying to estimate it for their business or their app. So how would you go about answering a question like that? What's the lifetime value of a user?
So I would ask, what's your definition of value?
Correct. Great question. So a person signs up for the Spincast. How many events do you expect each person to book in over the course of a year, would you say?
Mhm. Between 2 and 5.
Okay, so between 2 and 5. And the best thing about this, guys, we're doing rough math. So let's split it in the middle. Let's do 3. And then, so a person does 3 events. We typically find that how much revenue do you think you could get? Estimated, if you had to kind of guess, if a person did 1 event, how much revenue do you expect Spincast to be able to gain from a person putting on, let's say, a 21st birthday, and they brought in DJ Jazzy Jeff. Jeff charged them $500 for an 8-hour set. How much revenue do you think the Spincast would be able to bring in from something like that?
About 20% of that.
Okay, 20%. So let's say $100. So you do $100 3 times in a year. So that's $300. So essentially what we're saying is each customer is going to be worth about $300. And then really when we talk about lifetime value, if they're doing 3 events per year, we could expand that out to multiple years. But we're going to keep it 1 year for simplification purposes and say that each customer is worth $300. And then the way that you would get that $1 billion valuation is actually quite simple. You would figure out the value of each customer, $1 billion. So you would do that 1 billion divided by 300. And then that number that we get, that would be how many users you would need to get in order to get $1 billion in quote unquote revenue. And I want to kind of stop right there and kind of explain an important concept to people. When businesses are being valued, they're normally being valued based on a multiple of that revenue. So most businesses, you don't just look up how much money a business would make in a year and be like, that's what I would pay. So for instance, if you were selling a different app and that app made $100 a year, you wouldn't sell it for $100 because what happens is most people who start using the Spincast, it's a very sticky app, meaning they would use it for not just that 1 year, but the 2nd year and 3rd year. So a lot of times we're going to assume that that 1st year revenue will continue for multiple years. And what they call this a multiple. So what multiple of the revenue? So for easy numbers, I think $1 billion divided by 300, you would need about 100, you need about 10 million users. So let's use 10 million for rough numbers. So you need about 10 million users to get $1 billion in revenue. But I did a little pre-research and you could get about 3 times your annual revenue. So we would divide that 10 million users, because that's worth 3 billion technically, divided by 3, and you would get roughly 3 million users. So Tyler, if you could figure out a way to market this and broadcast this to my audience plus your audience, I think I don't quite have 1 million followers, but let's assume that I do. You know, this this live is really taking off. If you could get to 3 million users, that would get you basically on track for most venture capital funds to say, okay, we could justify this person having a $1 billion valuation with just 3 million users. What do you think about that number? And sort of like, what effect does that have on you kind of moving forward with the app?
So that puts me instantly into strategize mode. Like, all right, how do I get people to fall in love with Spincast? How do I make it to where people get the most bang for their buck? You know, I want people to feel like they're actually getting use out of the product. And so I need to be able to develop it, make sure that it works and all that other stuff. I want to focus on the product. And then that'll eventually build confidence and then build credit. So yeah, it'll put me in the strategizing mode. Like how do I get people to get the app and then stay on the app?
Exactly. And the reason that I'm bringing this up, because I want to invite people into some of our, what I would call like board meeting conversations. Me putting on the CFO hat, Tyler putting on the CEO hat. And I say, Tyler, we need 3 million users to get to $1 billion valuation. What vision do you have for this app? in order to get us to that destination. And then Tyler puts on the visionary CEO role and says, these are the steps that we can take in order to get to that place. And so I think that is sort of how this dynamic would normally work in a traditional boardroom setting. So I wanted to kind of take the time and be able to drop that gem on people. But I do want to kind of transition, Tyler, because outside of being sort of a CFO for the Spincast, you and I have very consistent conversations on cryptocurrency. And I see some of my crypto guys in there. Jonas with Money with Friends, I want to give them a special shout out. They're a great place for anybody who's interested in learning more about crypto and NFT projects to go check out Money with Friends. There's a Discord channel where you can learn everything about it. But I kind of want to pick your brain on that to kind of see where you're at right now. Crypto's taken a huge hit recently. There's been some coins either on sale or completely losing their values. I'd love to hear some of your opinions about it and sort of things that you're looking out for in the future.
Mm. In case I have a Freudian slip, I am unqualified to give any type of financial advice. I will give my qualified thoughts and unqualified opinions. But I will share some of my insights that I found to be helpful. And I've been obsessed with NFTs lately. I've been immersing myself in trying to figure out what the heck it is, and the type of like applications that they can have. And so I'm like 48 episodes deep into this podcast known as NFTs for Newbies that has really informed me about what NFTs are and the future applications and the current applications that they have.
Are there any projects that have kind of like caught your eye that you're interested in, that you've been following, that you'd want to kind of mention here?
So I'll say ones that I'm curious about, and I'll say ones that have caught my eye that like really made me perk up. So the ones that I'm curious about that I'm actually like kind of tracking is this dude named Daniel Arsham.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a sculptor and an artist, and so he launched this NFT on Nifty Gateway, which is an NFT marketplace. It's like Amazon but for NFTs. He launched this NFT that is a Porsche, but it's like kind of like stone. It's kind of like earth tone, and it's driving through this desert. And while it's driving, it degrades, like it starts to fall apart. And it's so cool to see it erode. And so it actually, over 9 hours, the Porsche just continues to degrade and degrade and degrade. So you're not
Wow.
at the same image for the same time in which that you're actually viewing it. And so then it'll like restart and reset after 9 hours. And so that was like pretty dope. And then, but for the ones that I think that most people that like made them be like, what the heck is this? Are like CryptoPunks and Bored Ape Yacht Club. And I think those two in particular, and there's a few other ones that are like larger, that are selling for wild amounts. But those two are mainly like flex. Like, yeah, you can see that I own CryptoPunk number 878, and my friend has CryptoPunk number 873, but mine's more recent and I paid more for it. Like, yo, I have more gold chains on. And so it's just like, all right. But then there are ones that have real world applications and that are like have real like missions. And so yeah, I just been like just obsessing over that and seeing how far it can go. And I really think that the ones that are going to sustain are the ones that have those like applications that you can use in the real world, or that support like a charity, or something, and not just ones that you can buy just to have a flex, just for a flex.
Mm, great point. Great point. No, my first, the first crypto project I invested in, um,
Hold on, I can't. Okay.
launch was in December. Um, the launch was in December, and when it came out, you could buy an NFT, you're basically buying a character who lives in this like fictional matrix. And on January 5th, you could either decide to take the red pill or the blue pill. And obviously, the pills are you take, that's where your character kind of like splinters off and goes on a separate journey, which I thought was very interesting because a lot of people, when they think of an NFT, they think of like a static object or item or piece of art. But in reality, kind of the one that you mentioned that changes over the course of 9 hours, and this one, which is basically a decision tree, is these NFTs can grow and change over time, and that's where the value is being derived. Um, I would say the big thing that I've been focused on recently is I've been very interested in the DeFi space. So for anybody who doesn't know, my background is in finance. So when I hear DeFi, which is decentralized finance, my ears perk up. And they have these things called DAOs. These are decentralized autonomous organizations. First time I heard this, it was like speaking Chinese or speaking a different language. So for anybody who's kind of like lost, I will definitely invite you to kind of like research some of these things. Um, but I found out about this exchange called PancakeSwap. Super interesting name, PancakeSwap. Anybody check it out. But they allow you to purchase coins that can then be invested into these autonomous organizations. And what these autonomous organizations do is they have a centralized purpose to use the money. And what I found most interesting about some of these DAOs are the returns. So with some of these DAOs, you can get rates of returns in the like 5,000 to 10,000 APY, which is basically if you keep your money invested in this organization, you could be looking at a $10,000 return, a 10,000% return over the course of a year. And for anybody who's wondering, there's not a lot of places you can get $1,000 or $10,000 return. Obviously, this is not financial advice, but for anyone who is searching for those type of returns, DAOs are a good way to try to get it. Obviously, if the value of the project goes down, you wouldn't get the full return because the value's gone down. But I thought that was a very interesting thing. And what made these DAOs super interesting for me is they started investing in real world projects. So one of the DAOs that I'm invested in has started to try to figure out ways to own LLCs that purchase real estate. So now you have a cryptocurrency that's backed by real world assets. And so it starts to merge this like concept of like a metaverse with real world investments. And so when people say, well, you're investing in a cryptocurrency, you're investing in, whatever coin, it doesn't have any real value, you could point to that person and say, well, this coin owns that building. And so the value of that building goes up. The coin can also appreciate in value. And so that was one of the main things that I found most interesting in DeFi is this cryptocurrency world is starting to bleed into the real world where it's not just like a bunch of, punk teenagers, YOLOing, their life savings. These are real world investors who are, buying real world assets and using them as collateral.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Is that something you'd be interested in investing in, or?
The DAO that's like a separate area that I've just started to scratch the surface. I can't give you an answer right now because I don't know.
Well, for anybody out there who's listening, I think our main goal here, the reason that we take the time to facilitate these conversations is to be able to teach people what's new, what's upcoming, and sort of what's happening in these different spaces. And so when we promise that we can make you some money, that's one of the things that I want to do. My pro tip for everybody who's looking for different ways to make money is research PancakeSwap. I would say that's the first one. That's the exchange where you can go on and invest in some of these DAOs. And I would tell people to research different crypto DAO projects. DAO, I think DAO. Decentralized Autonomous Organizations. They're offering returns in 1,000% if the project is successful. But most importantly, it allows you to have ownership. Because the one thing I didn't explain about DAOs is if you own the coin in which the DAO is using to invest in these different projects, as the value of the coin increases, you actually have ownership. You own that thing. So you will be able to get a return based on that. And then I think the last project that I'd like to talk about is, and see if you were an investor in this one, is Nas released some music recently. And he released the music via NFT. He said that if you invest in his NFT, you can own a percentage of his music. I think there were 2 songs launched, and I think they've sold out at this point, so they're on the secondary market. What do you think about that? How does that affect sort of what you do, you know, as a DJ and playing music, and how do you think that will impact the music industry?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been a few other artists that have released their albums as NFTs. And I think that it just like cuts out the middleman. You don't have to go through Apple and you don't have to go through Spotify. You can just upload the files as an NFT. And I think that that's dope. Real quick, I want to like just give some definitions while I'm talking and while we're both sharing. So NFT, non-fungible token, just a fancy way of saying that it's like it's not a real world, or pardon me, it's not a, actually, no, I don't want to try to define what a non-fungible token is. I just want to speak to like what how it's used a little bit, and how you normally see it. And it's basically like a piece of media, like a JPEG or a PNG or an MP3 file, that has some like source code behind it that is unique. And so if you think that you can just like screenshot an NFT, shot a CryptoPunk and say like, hey, like I own it, that's like screenshotting someone else's bank account. You don't have that in your crypto wallet.
No.
Save it on your device, but it doesn't necessarily translate to that you have it. And so I think that's what the perspective shift, because people are like, yo, how do you own an image? Like, how can you own something that's digital when I can just like screenshot it or save it or whatever, or rip it from online? So yeah, but as far as like the music thing goes, I think we'll start seeing more of that. I'm not so abreast to the Nas thing. I know that you're telling me about that, but sell it directly, for the artist to sell it directly to the listener.
Yeah, and I think that's very valid, and thanks for taking the time to kind of break some of that stuff down, because you know sometimes we can jump in here and remember that, like, you know, NFTs really kind of was on everybody's radar. I would say the end of 2020, and if you were in early 2021, but this is like relatively new, so breaking those things down is important. And the one thing that I would add to what you're saying is the ownership is documented on the blockchain. And so that's one of the things that makes this very interesting. And we're talking about real world applications. One of the ways some retailers are using NFTs is if they're dropping an exclusive, let's call it an exclusive sneaker collection. Let's say Kanye comes out of his bipolar dysphoria and decides he's going to drop a new shoe. And with this new shoe, each shoe will come up with a special NFT, so that anytime that shoe is bought or sold by a different person, then you'll be able to know exactly what product was switched to what owner. And what makes this very interesting is the problem with retail sometimes is if Kanye were to do this, you know, there's 17 factories in China that'll create fakes. Well, the fakes won't have the NFT associated with the product. And so you can maintain a certain amount of quality and integrity, by selling the product with an NFT, because if I own the shoe, the real version of the shoe, and I sell that shoe and the NFT to Tyler, now he has a way of knowing, okay, well, is this a real thing? Well, it comes with the NFT, and that NFT is going to have a way to trace back to that real world product so that we can show exactly how many people owned it. And so we can start talking about shoes in terms of, well, I'm the third owner of this shoe, and now I have proof, and these, you know, serial numbers or tokens match exactly that. So I thought that was an interesting real world application of NFTs for physical products.
Yeah, that's hard. You gonna have people like, yo, let me scan that QR code, bro. Let me see that.
Let me make sure that's real. I don't know. I don't trust it. Where's the NFT? I don't know, bro.
You know how there was kind of like people getting walked up on with the diamond scanner, like the test of clarity of the diamond.
Oh yeah.
That's how it's gonna be. But no, I think that the real world applications are the ones that are gonna hit again. And like I like the shoe example. By the way, just to give another example of like an analogy is like, hey, people are like, how do you resell an NFT? How do you resell a JPEG file? Think of it the same way that people resell shoes online now.
Yeah.
You purchase an Air Jordan OG 85, and there's a limited amount of those 85 OG Jordans. Let's say there's 100 of them. When you purchase one, you can set the value of it. And you know people are going to desire it. So that demand like shoots that value up. So you purchase for $100. Now you say, nah, I'm going to sell these for 300. So you go on StockX, you list your shoes, and then someone else purchases it for 300 because they weren't able to get the drop like you were for 100. It's not like they weren't willing to pay 100, but now the demand has increased because of the rarity of that shoe, and so that's the way I started. Like it started like connecting with me, but other like real world applications will be like Mark Cuban decides to like sell the Dallas Mavs logo as an NFT online.
I saw that.
What that gives you the ability to do is say, hey, like now I have this NFT of the Dallas Mavs logo. Yeah, it's a JPEG. Yeah, it's a PNG, whatever. But you now have ownership of that. And what that gives you is season tickets to the Dallas Mavericks.
Yep.
Bump the person that screenshotted it. Do you have it in your crypto wallet? and you can have access to the premium club suites. You know what I'm saying? All you can eat, gourmet. What that NFT is now is an asset. So you can flip that. You might have purchased it for $2,000 or however with the how it equates to Ethereum. You might have purchased it for 2,000 USD. Now that NFT is an asset and you can flip it and sell it to the next person for 3K. Now you up 1K, but you don't have that same access to season tickets or to premium club suites anymore.
Exactly. And I want to kind of leave this off with, you know, we talked a lot about this. And I also want to give a shout out to Kristen. She said, show me the Carfax as a way of being able to track the ownership of NFTs. I think that's a great way to put it. But I kind of wanted to propose this here live in front of everybody to kind of see what you would think about it. So as we know, the Spincast is an app that allows DJs to be able to go on and to curate these experiences for an audience. And as a DJ, you know, DJ Christian, you know, for everybody that doesn't know, I'm just kidding. I stick to finance. I'm not a part-time DJ. But if I were, I would love to be able to sell this experience to other audiences. Meaning I come up with a set list, I come up with some visuals, we've recorded it, and I want to take this video and be able to sell it to my audience. And so obviously, whenever I think of being able to sell something, I think of, well, could I come up with an NFT that represents that curated experience, that DJ set, that I could then sell to my audience. And then whenever that DJ set is being played, I can collect royalties on it because you have to pay me in order to play it. Well,
Right.
whoever owns that set list, whenever it gets played, that payment would not go to me, it would go to the person who owns it. What do you think about setting up something like that for some of the DJs on the platform and sort of using that as an additional way for them to make money
Yeah,
while also doing what they love?
absolutely. And royalties is the name of the game when it comes to, like, residual income. And so if DJs are up to that, they'd be able to set up their account in a way that they connect their crypto wallet and an NFT to their profile. And whenever someone else plays that, a secondary play, they get whatever code is built into their playback video.
Yep.
They're able to get some funds for that.
That's very interesting. So I think we've sort of like brainstormed the new revenue model for the Spincast live here in front of everybody, Instagram Live. But I do want to kind of take the time to say, as we wrap up, to say thank you for everybody coming out and support. We hope that you were able to learn a lot, not just about what we're doing with the Spincast, but also, ways in which you can sort of make money off of NFTs, crypto, and really be able to expand your business acumen. Tyler, I'll kind of like let you say a few words to everybody, talk about different ways that they can support the Spincast and sort of what you have coming up next.
Yeah, indeed. I'm dropping the Spincast website in the comment thread right now. And so, again, the Spincast is a way for just being able to democratize, like, being able to book a DJ, because that can be hard. And so we want to make that as easy as possible. And then we want DJs to be able to jump into the platform to be able to spin for anyone in the world from wherever you are, as easy as possible, and being able to earn with us. And so we're really happy for y'all to be, part of this journey, for creating accounts and being involved, and seeing it from its infancy. And so we're still kind of there. We're still a little bit early, but learning and looking. And I'm looking forward to launching the app in the App Store, for the Apple App Store in particular. It's in the Google Play Store. So if you do have an Android device, you can download it now. So that way you're able to pull it straight up from your phone. You don't have to type in the spincast.com online, but it makes it a little bit more convenient for those that do have the app. So be on the lookout for the mobile app in the next quarter or so. And then being on the lookout for more featured DJ sets on weekends. We're ready to get those started.
Perfect. And once again, I want to thank everybody for coming out. I want to thank everybody for supporting. We want to kind of use this time. Tyler and I, this won't be our last conversation. But for people who are wondering, okay, what's the big picture here? What's the takeaway? I want to be able to open up my audience and kind of inform them of some of the things that we have going on behind the scenes. Because this is a real thing. Like today we talked about how do we get to $1 billion valuation. And just so that everybody knows, tomorrow we're going to be executing on a plan to get there. And so some of this may sound pie in the sky right now, but in order to be the vision that we want for the future, we have to let people know what our intentions are. So for everybody listening, I have some homework for you. Any DJs that you know who want to expand their audience, who want to go more virtual, who want to be able to make money from the comfort of their own home, message Tyler and I immediately. We need as many DJs as possible on this app so that we can kind of broadcast them and share them out to anybody who's interested. The second thing, if you have an upcoming event and you need a DJ, let us know. Contact us directly. We'd love to be able to work with you and do like a high-touch concierge service so that you can get exactly what you need at a fraction of the cost. And then last but not least, I want you guys to continue to follow and support us. We appreciate everything. We appreciate your time, your efforts, your energies. Thank you guys. Tyler, I'll let you kind of have the last word.
Yeah, go tap into the Spincast Instagram page for updates, man. Go on the site, make an account, book a DJ. Let's get it.
Yes, sir. All right, thanks, guys. Y'all have a good night.
Peace.